Scientists agree that the best chances of finding alien life will be on planets similar to ours. And descriptions of extraterrestrials seem to resemble humans in many ways. Some ancient astronaut theorists draw a surprising conclusion from these facts, suggesting that aliens might actually be human.
It is odd that many of the descriptions of aliens are effectively humanoid, and this raises an interesting possibility. One idea that's been put forward is that these are not extraterrestrials at all, but they're time travelers from the future.
They could be us from 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 years from now. Let's assume for a moment that 10,000 years from now on this planet, if we all survive, that time travel was created. They've invented it. Just like the time machine of H.G. Wells' days. They can go back or they can go forward. So let's assume 10,000 years from now, we decide to come back to see us. Maybe they have changed physically. They look like the alien Greys or whoever they may be.
It could well be that ancient astronauts might not be creatures from other planets at all, but time travelers from 2720 in a time machine.
Time travel is an essential concept for science fiction. But would it be possible for flesh and blood humans to find a way to transport themselves through time with current technology? Would this enable us to cover the vast distances of space?
If I could travel close to the speed of light, I could reach the year 3000, say, in a couple of years. I have to get very close to the speed of light for that, but it's doable, and we know that this isn't a theory, this is real physics. We can demonstrate these time-warping effects. So you can reach the future quicker by traveling close to the speed of light.
The concept of time travel was first proposed by Albert Einstein in 1905, when he published his theory of special relativity.
Ancient astronaut theory says that astronauts visited us a long time ago from somewhere else. The technology involved in doing that, we would assume, would be similar to what we understand now. I mean, we know special relativity is a law of physics. It holds anywhere in the universe. Ancient astronauts would come all the way here and travel these large distances and not age that much relative to their home planet. Because if you're going close enough to the speed of light, you will have slowed down time enough that when you get back, hundreds, thousands, or even millions of years could have passed.
One limitation to this method of travel is that because a spacecraft has mass, it theoretically cannot reach the exact speed of light. The resulting reduction in velocity would then dramatically increase the amount of time needed to cross the vast universe.
Well, there's definitely many theories about how extraterrestrials got here, how their propulsion system got them to planet Earth. They're surely not coming here the way we go out into space. They'd never get here. They are finding different ways. They have either developed a new form of propulsion, or they're able to travel through what I've always believed, wormholes throughout the universe that would instantaneously put them here.
The idea of wormholes was first proposed in 1935 by Albert Einstein and his longtime collaborator, Nathan Rosen. They began to explore the possibility that space and time could literally be bent to create a time travel shortcut.
Wormholes have not been detected. They're a postulated structure in space that involve actually taking, if you want to think of a sheet of paper, bending it in half and connecting the two pieces that you get together. A wormhole is thought to do something like that. You know, space gets warped and it connects between two different parts of space. You know, there's predictions about what they would look like, there's theories about them, but we haven't detected one yet. You're not actually ever traveling faster than the speed of light, you're just cutting corners.
You don't actually have to go light speed and travel for light years to someplace. You literally go there through a wormhole and through hyperspace and bang, you're there.
If you can have a wormhole in space, then it could be turned in principle into a time machine. And so travel back in time as well as forward in time would then be possible. The problem is, where do you get your wormhole? It's not inconceivable that wormholes were made in the Big Bang, coughed out along with everything else. There might be one out there in the universe we could harvest and adapt to form a time machine.
The Mahabharata. In this sacred Indian text, written in the 8th century BC, King Ravita is described as traveling to the heavens to meet with the creator god Brahma, only to return to Earth hundreds of years in the future. Some researchers believe this Hindu tale may be one of the oldest records of successful time travel in the ancient past.
There's the story of a king called Ravayata, and he is taken into space to see the gods. And when he returns to the Earth, he finds that many ages have gone by, and it's been hundreds of years. And this is the kind of thing that would happen to space travelers and in time travel as well. You think you're gone for only a few days, but when you return to Earth, you find out that you've been gone for hundreds of years.
Like the legend of Chaco Canyon, similar tales of time travel can be found all around the ancient world. In Japan, the legend of Urashima Taro details a fisherman's visit to the protector god of the sea, Ryujin, in an underwater palace for what seemed like only 3 days.
When he returns to his fishing village, he finds that it's been 300 years that he's been gone. And his house is in ruins. Everybody he knows is long dead. No one remembers him or his family.
And in the Hebrew Bible, descriptions of the prophet Jeremiah in Jerusalem are eerily similar to both of these accounts of time travel.
Even in the Bible, the prophet Jeremiah was sitting together with a few of his friends, and there was a young boy, his name was Abimelech. And Jeremiah said to Abimelech, "Go out of Jerusalem, there is a hill, and collect some figs for us." The boy went out and collected the fresh figs. Of a sudden, Abimelech hears some noise and wind in the air, and he became unconscious. He had a blackout. After a time, he wakes up again, and he saw it was nearly the evening. So he runs back to the society, and the city was full of strange soldiers. And he said, "What's going on here? What is Jeremiah and all the others?" And an old man said, "That was 62 years ago." It's a time travel story written in the Bible.
Ever since the infamous UFO incident of 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico, there have been thousands of reports of extraterrestrial sightings and even first-hand accounts of alien abductions. Described as humanoids with large heads and small bodies, researchers believe these beings might, in fact, be an alien species that some call the Greys.
These aliens look not too dissimilar from us. They have heads, they have hands, they have 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, a nose, a rudimentary mouth. They certainly, in their descriptions, appear to be pretty close to us, or what they kind of look like is very, very early science fiction concepts of how the human race would eventually evolve over the eons.
If you look at the extraterrestrials that are described, the Greys that are related to the Roswell incident, you'll see that their forms in many ways resemble what we might project or predict that we could look like in the future if we became a spacefaring race.
The Roswell crash in New Mexico, in fact, happened coincidentally close to the birthday of the Egyptian goddess Isis. So you have to wonder, too, if these so-called alien bodies that were allegedly found at the Roswell crash with thin bodies and big heads, if they weren't some kind of time-traveling extraterrestrials.
Is it possible the beings believed to have been recovered at Roswell traveled here from the star Sirius, just like the Egyptian goddess Isis, as some ancient astronaut theorists believe? And might they be coming here using advanced expertise in space-time technology?
I would think that it's quite possible that the alien visitors, if they're proved to be the way we think they are, that they're using certain forms of teleportation, perhaps, or certainly they have propulsion devices that can approach the speed of light.
What we do know is that the physics of our planet, quantum physics and string theory, have moved the ball so much further than it was in the last century to saying there are no mathematical restrictions on time travel to the future or to the past. And that once you know that the physics community is saying there are no restrictions, it's just us finding out how do we do this.
Time travel is basically the same as teleportation. We could go from place to place on Earth in a matter of milliseconds. This would revolutionize all kinds of travel. At the same time, our connections between us and any other civilization, and including civilizations on other planets as well.
But just who really are these otherworldly creatures called the Greys? Is it possible they came to Earth not from outer space, but from the future or the past? Or might they actually be human time travelers?
There are various theories as to what the Greys are. There are stories that they are beings which have been around since time immemorial and are still around. But there are also encounters which people have had, and during these encounters, it has been said that really the Greys are us from the future. And that they really have traveled back in time because somehow we have genetically created a situation whereby the Greys are no longer able to procreate, and that they have to therefore come back to our times to sort of remedy the situation.
People back in the 60s and 70s kind of speculated what would human beings look like in 1,000 years or 2,000 years. And the idea was that we would expand our intellectual knowledge, so our brains would get bigger, and we'd have machinery that would basically do all the physical tasks for us that we do with our hands now. We really would become almost physically inert beings. And if you look at those early concepts of the future of the human race, they kind of look like the standard traditional gray alien, the Roswell alien.
I rather am a believer in time travel. I say nothing will be impossible for us in the future. Even if we think it's completely crazy, it will happen. Whatever humans are able to think, to calculate, even to fantasies, will one day become reality. Sometimes I ask myself if these UFOs are not time travelers. It's our own people of the future.
Considering the scientific advancements from the last century alone, might it be possible future humans have discovered the ability to travel in time, as some ancient astronaut theorists believe? Are they, in fact, the so-called visitors that have been recorded throughout the centuries? Or are they otherworldly aliens who have mastered travel through both time and space. Perhaps the answers can be found, not in the here and now, but in another place and time. Kingman, Arizona, May 1953. At the height of the Cold War, an unidentified object reportedly crashed in the desert sands. What remained was allegedly sent to America's most top-secret facility, Area 51. But it wasn't until 45 years later, in 1998, that a retired military engineer named Bill Uhouse came forward to make a stunning claim. The military didn't just have the extraterrestrial technology, they had an actual living alien.
Uhouse claimed that he worked in a secret laboratory, supposedly in the Papoose Mountains of Area 51 in Nevada, and that since 1953, the American government had an insectoid alien that was working with them. His name was J-Rod.
J-Rod supposedly assisted the military in understanding and duplicating the incredible power systems and futuristic technology that was combined and created for the Kingman craft.
Shortly after Bill Uhouse broke the story, microbiologist Dan Burish came forward to confirm his claim. But according to Dan Burish, J-Rod claimed that he was not an alien. What he revealed was something even more shocking.
This insectoid alien, J-Rod, said that he had actually come from our future, and that at some time in the near future to us, there is a catastrophe on this planet, and much of mankind is destroyed, and that mankind splits into two different species. And one of these species goes and lives underground. And while underground, they develop these insectoid traits, which is exactly what the Hopi and Zuni and even Navajo legends say, that during the transition period between the third and the fourth worlds, this above world of today was not habitable, and they had to go underground and live for some time with what they called the ant people. And you have to wonder if perhaps J-Rod is actually an insectoid human being from our own future.
Could the accounts of J-Rod confirm that the Hopi stories of ant people were more than just mythology? And if the so-called insectoids really do exist, is it possible that they are not aliens, but humans from the future?
Aliens appear to be a part of our human evolution over thousands of years. A lot of it has to do with our reproductive systems. Maybe they're actually trying to create a new race, possibly that will be able to withstand atmospheric changes here on Earth, or potentially lead us to a point where we have to leave the planet.
But if humans are someday forced underground by a cataclysmic event, does it even make scientific sense that we would evolve to have insect-like characteristics? According to some scientists, we are part insect already.
The work on the human genome has indicated that possibly up to half of our DNA may be the result of transposons. That's a fancy word for jumping genes, genes that can jump from one species to another. Recently it was shown that Rhodnius, this is the sucking insect that spreads Chagas disease, not only can spread the trypanosome, the disease-causing agent, from organism to organism, it also can spread its own genes to those organisms. Humans get Chagas disease. So far, they've not tested humans for this insect DNA. Odds are we do have some of these insect genes in our system. We know with some of these transposons probably came from diseases we caught when our ancestors were bitten by insects.